Yeah, it's cool. I'll call you later. Hello, hello. We're back now in Wyoming. Wyoming. Black Horse Livery Stable. That's the beauty that we're looking at here. And just wait till you hear the history. Actually, I'm not even going to entertain you with that because it's really perplexing, to say the least. There's a bunch of Sherlocks, and they buy it for $100, and then they, Well, actually, if you go way back to 1868, the date where no one knew who built it, and phrase that properly, but part of something called Wolverine Load. It was sold to Barney Tibbles for $201. Tibbles sold it to Van Sickle for $200 at the loss of $1. Van Sickle then sold it to John C. Spry. And I'm not being Australian, that's his name, for $12,000. And then Mr. John C. Spry sold it to the Federal Gold Mining Company, of which he became president, for $1, and then he sold it for $100. And then a bunch of Sherlocks got it and inherited and passed it down and got kicked around, and then eventually was sold for $1 or something to the Historical Association. And, I forgot. And that's all she wrote, folks. There's the beautiful girl from another angle. Look at those wagon wheels. Just look at them. Signs of the times, no doubt. Speaking of signs, this one's missing. There's how she was constructed, those rough timbers. And I want to tell you that that's where you'll be sleeping, Jennifer, but I feel like I'm going to hold off because there might be a more comfortable stall for you. And by that I mean more uncomfortable. Running gag that we have where I pick out a place for a fantasy woman to sleep. For some reason, I don't even know how that joke started, but we carried on. So you just be patient, Jennifer. Your time is coming. Okay, this is the, hold on. Caught up here. I'm a little rusty, but out of practice, you know what I'm saying? I've had some life upheavals, which maybe I should tell you about sometime, and maybe no one cares. But you might care that this is the Sherlock family, and perhaps the same Sherlocks that once held the Black Livery Stable. I'm gonna assume that that's the case. It's the home of the pioneer Sherlock family. Yes, sir. A cabin built by members of the Sherlock family. Yes, it is the same family. Cabin was part of the Wolverine claim, patented by Mr. Meadows. And then we have the same exact history about Van Sickle and Barney Tibbles selling to John C. Spry for $1, la la la. So yeah, I guess it's just all part of the same thing. The original cabin was 2 rooms, and this is the most important family connected with the building, the Sherlocks, pioneer residents of Fremont County. And there is the Sherlock Hotel, which I'm gonna go ahead and guess is part of the same Sherlock family's belongings. Wow, that's a real western town. I mean, that is like a movie set. What the frick? It is a movie set. Oh, how do you explain this mannequin? Sorry, do that again. Else, how do you explain this mannequin? Unless she's just a little melanin deprived or whatever. Albino. Can you still say that word? Albino? Or has it become like the other ones? The M word and the D word. I mean, midget and dwarf. And the R word. And all these sensitive people trying to change our word. Hubba. Look at that mamba jamba. What are you doing on Saturday night? Inquiring minds would like to know. You could bring your friend too. This one. Wait. No, that. Hold still, frisky ladies. If indeed, as a furnace, you can be a lady. Oh, I'd like you to be one. What a looker. Look at that vent job. Admire that. I admire those. Sherlock Hotel, you're. Oh my. You know, man, you guys are just. You're doing this on purpose. Look, he's got little eyes and like a mouth. He's cute. Are his eyes people? His eyes are people. What a gorgeous furnace. And the wash basin, yes, I see you back there, but still. It seems like it doesn't fit. Like, this is so, get blown over by, the 3 little piggies, wolf, or whatever guy. And just blow that one down. The furnace would still stand today. So it just seems weird, I'm not saying I have any good theories or conspiracies about it, but I just feel like it's a little odd that these wooden structures house such substantial furnaces. Might I add sexy. This was needs a little tender love and care, but still, what is going on in this little town? That's the jail. I mean, are those iron or are those little like wooden slats? Cause, I mean, unless you're like imprisoning a bunch of people made of candy canes or something. That'd be a short time spent in captivity for a man of normal strength, I would imagine. That one might take a little longer. Now, look like somebody done blasted the door off its hinges right there. What a slice of time, really. Or a slice out of time, or time capsule. Whatever I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say. Don't get cheeky with me, listener or viewer. Kind of want to start over, but I won't do that. The raw, unedited, uncutness of it all is part of its charm, I'm told. Well, no one's actually told me that, but I imagine that to be true. So, until I'm told otherwise. Now what we're looking at here is I don't really know. Out there now, Wyoming now, they really try to make it difficult on us by not matching the pictures with the numbers, But I imagine it's, I swear they make this intentionally difficult to find information about these stuff. They have to. Otherwise, it's just so incompetent, it defies logic. It really does. Searching for this WYO30, which is the name of this, it gets you nothing, as if it don't exist. But it's clearly right there. Apparently it's been changed to YO7. Cool story. Thanks. Building structure dates 1873. The initial construction, we're told, but work continued off and on, well, I guess until the 50s. It's a gold mine, the Carissa mine, for that to be exact. And the original hoist house in 1873, when we're told it was constructed, it burned down. Although it's not certain, the present hoist house may date from that time. Research to date has not revealed specific dates for any of the buildings. That's helpful. Discovered in 1865 by Tom Ryan, the mine, the Carissa or Carresso mine. In 1867, 14 men registered the claim, which came into the hands of the Thurmond Company 1 year later. And 1 year later after that, it was owned by Thomas Roberts, who traveled to London to interest an English company in ownership. The Englishmen agreed, but they only paid 1/10 of the promised price. And by 1873, it lay idle. 4 years ago, in 1865, Tom Ryan, a soldier in the Nevada Volunteers, passed through the South Pass vicinity and makes the discovery of the Carissa lode. He reports these findings in Salt Lake City like a dutiful soldier, but before he could return to the site, Henry Riedel and 13 others had already registered the claim. 2 years later, a group of Sioux Indians attacked the miners as they worked at the mine, sinking a shaft. Captain Lawrence, however that is, rallied the miners and attempted to make a stand using picks and shovels as weapons. Well, he was killed, and the remaining miners fled to Willow Creek. There, the miners launched a successful counterattack which dispersed their Indian pursuers. The Indians did take the tools and the goods, which the miners had been forced to abandon when they fled. Despite this setback, they returned to work, and by the spring of 1868, they had extracted $15,000 worth of gold. Tales of the riches of this mine brought a rush of miners to the region and led to the establishment of South Pass City, where you can see it back there. Look at it, how flourishing it is. I'm just kidding, I don't even know if that's it. But the boom lasted until 1873, so we talk about approximately 4 or 5 years, when it fell idle and most of the other mines were abandoned. The surface ore in the area was rich, but the value decreased with the depth of the mine, is my understanding, meaning it was all spread around on the top. Almost like it was Easter egg hunt for 5-year-olds left there. In 1901, a new shaft was sunk 300 feet, and they did find, a bunch of $25,000 worth of gold and silver, but there were 5 levels. At its biggest point, 2,600 feet of horizontal workings. 1932, the Smelting and Refining Company of America unwatered the mine, took samples, did no further work. The title of the mine was not clear, so, whatever. Passed around in the direction of various mining companies, and in August 1946, they did open it up, and it probably produced old timers in the district say the mine probably produced about $500,000 during the years of its peak production. Anyway, that's what they say about it. But now, as far as the way it looks, you can see just how crappy. I shouldn't say crappy, but crude, rudimentary, ugly. Kind of thing you'd expect, I guess, from an old mine. You gotta hand it to them. These guys were tough out here just digging in the desert. It's pretty amazing, actually. Barely get people to do anything anymore, much less intense mining like this. But the machinery alone is incredible. I don't know how they got it out there, or they cast some of it on the spot, maybe. There's a foundry nearby. I don't know. I mean, some of the lighter things, like these, look like they're made of tin, maybe, or at least thinner metal. It wouldn't be like these cast iron pieces or this. I mean, good golly wackles, that's gotta be heavy. I don't know how many horses would take to pull that thing out. Unless they cast it on site, but still, a remarkable feat. And all the machinery looking like it's in decent condition still, at least decent enough so you could tell what it did and or does. Looks like they're closed for tours though. It says keep owl clearly right there. That's a shame. I was hoping to get a frozen banana. I'm sure they have those here. It looks like the kind of place that would sell frozen bananas. at that door. And there you have beautiful brick underneath this very precarious looking, whatever this is, underpass. I'm still recording in a wind tunnel, so sorry for the noise. I'll explain all that one day. One day, not too far away, like maybe today. Wyoming. I thought it was just a California thing, but no, it's not. You gotta like Gailey specific. This is the Dakota Street cabin, or the Gene Chip cabin. Again, not really the old world bangers that we like to look at. And the narrative, whoa, don't you distract me with that sexy MFer. It's the oldest cabin in South Pass City. There, I said it. That's all you need to know, because that's all that I know. So, you know, we'll just keep it moving there. Now, it is notable. You see how the numbers jump from Wyoming 33 to 54. Oh, never mind. That's 34. I was going to say it jumped to 54. But that does happen. It's not unusual. It jumped like 20 spots and you're like, what the heck happened to them? Why are they no longer on the registry? Because there's plenty of properties that are on the registry that are destroyed or demolished. So why leave it off completely? I don't understand why they do that. But that's not the case here. Here we're looking at the Barney Tibbles cabin. I know. Wyoming has been really stunning so far. But you know and I know that these are always just a distraction. These are just telling some story. But we'll go with it in the name of being thorough. So South Pass City in 1884 becomes part of Fremont County. There were several claims in the area owned by the Federal Gold Mining Company with Charles C. Spry. The company permitted people to build on the land without buying it. Thus, if there are any records at all of these buildings, they were in the records of the tax assessor. The company arranged with the owners of the buildings to give them the land upon which their buildings were located in exchange for $1. And then the company sold the plot of land to several owners. So they changed the name of the streets, and then they sold the land upon which the cabin stands here to Barney Tibbles, who gave the property to his wife 35 years later. The last we heard, it was being fought in the courts about who owned it, with several claims being made. And I'm not really sure why we're fighting over it, but we are. Someone is. It's hard to tell from these black and white pictures, but it might be very beautiful high country. I don't know. Quit picking on these people. This is the dance hall, it says. I don't know what it is with these people in dance halls. Everything's a dance hall. Doesn't look like a dance hall to me, but okay, the hell do I know? Well, I know that it's a dance hall and community center built by William Sherlock, served as a dance hall and community center until the 1920s when it was abandoned. Now the state of Wyoming owns it. And it doesn't look like Buju Banton will be doing any shows here, so not that kind of dance hall. Not any kind of dance hall, actually. State of Wyoming, I didn't know they were putting on, they were hosting raves. I didn't know they had it in them. I really didn't. Doesn't look like they do either. Know that they had it in them or have it in them. Man, I'm really out of touch. I'm really rusty. Maybe I've lost my mojo for good. Oh my god, but we still have like a billion videos to go through. That can't happen. No, I won't let it happen. This is a 1868 building, one of South Pass City's two original banks. You know, it's shocking to me how, well, we'll just go with this. In 1890, the bank building was converted to a saloon, which is hilarious, and the recorder's office was turned into a room for card players. In 1973, these structures had decayed to such an extent that the Wyoming Recreation Commission had to have them dismantled and completely rebuilt, and that's what it looked like when they're done. No, I'm just kidding. There is no more pictures, but just so you know, it's where they exchanged gold for food. It's interesting how you'll get these incredible buildings like the state capitol, and they give you barely anything. I know I've said this before, but still, it's always remarkable to me. And then you go to some cities that are just bristling full of architectural wonders, and you get nothing, maybe one or two properties. And then you come to a place like South Pass City, which I haven't even seen any semblance of any city anywhere. I'm not trying to insult you if you're from there. I mean, I literally haven't seen a city. I've just seen, ruins like this, and we're given multiple properties. Maybe I understand that cultural heritage is important to people in the area, but it just makes these surveys so imbalanced and oftentimes kind of boring. I'm surprised anyone watches these. But anyway, Superior Coal Mines is the name of this one, I think. It doesn't help that they slow me down like this with this fucking crappy ass. But they do. It's like they have it out for me. Like, why? Okay, this is the B&H mine. Found it. And it is 0.5 miles east of Palmetto Gulch. And that is the end of that description or information. If you can call that a description. God, looked for like 10 minutes for that. Why, Wyoming? Why must I waste my time? It's turned out to be a real friggin' doozy. I'm gonna guess this one's the Duncan mine, but maybe not. This is the Duncan mine. And this one, we're told, is 2.9 miles north of South Pass City. And again, that's all we're given. That's a cool bit of old railroad, but man, you're really keeping the good stuff from us, aren't you? Wow. I'm almost to the point where Yep, there's where you'll be sleeping, Jennifer. The dinner's at 8. Oh, wow, it can't get much worse than that, huh? I'm gonna skip a bunch of these mines, since they're not telling us anything about them anyway. Man, I wonder, it's wild that these little towns just seem to be so abandoned out here. I mean, I've been to ghost towns, and I understand that they exist, but it still just seems strange, just a slice at a time, that they just exist out there crumbling away, piece by piece. Bit by bit. This one's got no information on it and no way to look it up even. But a substantial building just to be allowed to collapse like that. Big old brick chimney. See what we can see here. Looks like a concrete foundation. Old Bedlam, it says. I'm glad someone's taken the care to knock out every window. Way to be thorough. I suspect it was you, Mr. Floyd Wilson. You're a wanted man. Old Bedlam, a founder, Fort Laramie. Old Bedlam, Fort Laramie, Goshen County, Wyoming. Not sure why it says Fort Laramie twice. Is that the name of the place and then the city and then the town and then the city again? I don't know. But I'm about to find out, he said in his most perfect announcer voice. Wow, the person that actually did this survey, they say that the floorboards are random widths, and then they literally, in every room and hallway, they list the lengths and the widths of the floorboards. For example, it says Hall 1, first floor, beginning at face of plaster, 5 inches, 1 and 5/8, 1 and 8 3/8, 2 and 2 3/4, 2 and 9 3/4, 3 and 2 3/8, 3 and 7 1/4, and on and on and on and on and on and on. And this is for every room and hallway. There's like 9 pages of it. It looks like a weird math problem. It'll even say boards missing. 1 board missing. Like what kind of autists did they have to do that? And so unnecessary. I've never seen that in any survey. Measuring each floorboard? That's bizarre. And apparently they did this in 1939. That goes to show you something about the mentality of them boys back then. This is kind of interesting here. You got this letter attached which says, it's from a gentleman, some director of something. I guess Department of Agriculture. And he's replying to these wood samples that were sent in, telling them that they're been identified as wood of the white pine group. And he narrows it down to thinking that it's limber pine, the fence, and made by, and also ponderosa pine, and he adds in a note, he says, it's interesting to note the upstairs porch flooring and the inside flooring upstairs were sawn by hand, as is indicated by the irregular but more or less straight saw marks on the back of the flooring. The upstairs inside flooring, the floor of the front porch, the siding, and the shingles were cut with a circular saw. Which is interesting because the upstairs porch flooring and the inside flooring upstairs done by hand, but the floor of the front porch, the siding, and the shingles were cut with a circular saw. I guess that makes sense. Why is that weird? I mean, it would make sense that they added the porch on later. But anyway, a little inside peek at how things are done in the world of surveys. We send wood samples, that we do. And we get, hopefully, honest answers back from the director of whatever department that we decided to test. Yeah, this guy counted and measured every floorboard in every hallway. How bizarre is that? Each little floorboard, because he said they just weren't the same size. And a bricked-in fireplace, which is... well, I guess it's not. It shows change, I guess, because it's clearly an opening and then it's not. I would presume that a sexy furnace once sat here and piped out through this hole, but I just wonder what the early furnace was for then, or the early use of the fireplace before they did that, I don't know. These are the questions I have, and when I look at these old buildings, the real juicy questions, the kind that Jean-Pierre, whatever her name is, that liar that looks like a palm tree that represents Joe Biden, the kind that she would fail to answer every time. Honestly, because not once has the truth ever, I doubt the truth has ever graced those plump lips. You hear me, Miss Palm Tree Head? And that's Fort Laramie, folks. No telling what it did and or does. Or what it was for. I guess trader store it says. So okay, we'll go with that. Post trader store. Looks like some uncured brick. Another fireplace mystery. Wow, look how tall this one is. This furnace pipe must have been. Or maybe it was a very tall, elegant, sexy furnace that sat there. What, the giants here? You hang up your bathrobe way up there, dude? Barely ever. Oh my God. The boys have been in the bottles. Would you just look at them empties? Just look at them. Somebody been breaking in and partying, and they didn't invite me. Wait, we were here once before. Or maybe a similar tavern. Is that it from the outside? Wow, impressive. That's probably an outhouse. And no call numbers on these, so I seem to remember this happening last time where I couldn't give you any info because there's no numbers on them. But you know what? That looks like the roof and the design on this, very elegant for this ghost town. And that looks like they're calling it a barracks. Little ghost door here. Probably serves serves as a hotel now, or did. It looks a little dangerous if it's still a hotel. I would question the railing anyway. And look at this guy. He's like talking out the side of his mouth. He's like, hey, psst. Hey, want to buy something? Come around back. There she is from afar, looking like she's seen better days. Haven't we all? Maybe this is South Pass finally, the city. Or this is probably part of Fort Laramie still. And here we are in a place that, well, artsy frame, or it's actually a torn photo. A little family with a really pleasant home. Oh, what happened? The trees are gone. That's the most striking thing. And the people, I guess. But I mean, what happened here? A little picket fence, a little nice little house, and no more. It's all been dried up and abandoned. Looks a little flooded out here, doesn't it? A little bit. A little uneven. Kind of hard to say for certain, though. Haven't seen too much of that here. Well, except for here. Looks very uneven. This old guardhouse. And yeah, I guess I spoke too soon, because that's definitely a weird way to build that. I'd say that there's some flooding that has happened here, of the mud variety. Look it, packed the indoors with bricks, or the bricks is in jail. I can't tell. This is the same. Look at, they removed the bars, but the bricks are so loyal they just stayed behind in the jail. Ah, there you have it. The opening to the underground basement. It's as if I asked for it. What I was thinking, the old guardhouse and me. Why we finish each other's sentences. And again, we have this lot of brick here. Must be a brickyard nearby, one would think. What the hell's that cow? There's still cows wandering around here? How's that possible? What do they eat? And the magazine. And so, yeah, must be still part of the fort. They're calling the fort. And these guys must be the OG soldiers. There's always one goof that's got to wear his hat and cocked sideways like that. Like, up, governor. Obsessed with hats they were. And this looks like it is kind of too cute of a yard for these dudes, you know? Like, what are you guys, planting little hedges here? You don't look like the gardening type. Not sure what happened on the hill there, but we're not gonna talk about it, Jimmy, okay? People did some bad things up there, and God rained down on them. Oh, look at that. It looks cracked right down the middle of that there chimney. Here's something I can actually tell you about, based on the actual existence of the actual numbers. And of course, it's a bridge. And we're not in Connecticut. A bridge and we're not in Connecticut? What world is this? Well, it's the King Bridge and Manufacturing Company, that's who built it. It's the North Platte River Bowstring Truss Bridge, and it's the first of its kind to be built in the then territory of Wyoming. I mean, it's still in Wyoming, but it's not a territory. It's also believed to be the first military bridge west of the Mississippi. It's interesting. They got all the way to Wyoming without having to build a bridge. That should tell you something right there. All the bridges were already constructed. Well, we're told it's the oldest structure in the state of Wyoming, the oldest such structure. So I don't know what the qualifiers were. But Fort Laramie, I guess I can finally tell you about that place. It was about halfway between St. Louis and the West Coast, so it was the logical stopping point for repairs, food, and news in case you're journeying from, St. Louis to the West Coast. And those who wish to visit the post had to cross either the Laramie or the North Platte River, depending on the route. Before 1875, immigrants had either ford or ferry, but during the spring and summer, the river was at flood stage, which made crossing extremely dangerous. And then, of course, you have the completion of the Union Pacific Railroad in 1869, and that was the end of the great covered wagon migrations. And you got Montana and South Dakota producing gold, so you need to bridge the North Platte. And the Sioux temporarily settled on reservations in northern Nebraska, which had to be supplied by wagons from Cheyenne. And so the citizens of Cheyenne took the initiative in the movement to build a bridge. I thought they said it was soldiers. County commissioners denied the construction of a ferry, and so the townspeople turned to the territorial delegate, W.R. Steele, who happened to be named after the bridge material. So he introduced a bill in the House calling for the construction of the bridge to be built under the direction of the military. 2 days later, the Secretary of War, after conferring with General Ord, commander of the Alien Brigade, sounds like, requests the money. Congress passed the bill. 2 weeks later, General Sheridan took command of the mission. King Bridge Manufacturing Company took the bid. Operating under primitive conditions, workers ran into considerable difficulty. Most of the labor pool saw the prospect of panning gold in the Black Hills more stimulating than working for wages. The Army had to supply 12 men in order to see it completed by October, and it was done in November. It served faithfully for 15 years, but by 1890, Fort Laramie had lived out its usefulness. And so the Army sold the building and the fixtures at public auction, and the county took control of this here bridge, where it's preserved for the public, but I don't think it's used. Or maybe it is. Hell, I don't know. It probably is. Look at it. It looks like it's fine. I mean, there's no real danger. Although I see a newer, more modern bridge back there behind it. Looks like that river's been dammed up and drained. You left that part out of the story, didn't you? About how you took all the people's water away, and you sold it back to them, didn't you? At a higher rate. I know, the rivers used to flow right into town everywhere you went, and the water was free for the people to use, but no, nowadays, no sir. You'll be paying quite a high wage for it, so that you'll have to work more, and therefore you'll have less time for reckless speculation, like I'm doing here, in a phony accent. That seems to keep changing. What is this hanging out here, this piece of machinery, and just chilling there by the road? You go home. Wow. And I don't mean the table. You know what I'm talking about in there. What's the deal with all these? Fruit drinks? Fucking fruit drinks for $3? Oh, I just knew they had frozen bananas here. That there is a trap for the taggers. We gon' catch them, we gon' tame them, and set them loose on our enemies. And just look at that train station. This is color pictures. Oh yeah, we looked at these before, but now these are in color actually. And still that sign is not large enough, the Union Pacific one. It really isn't. I don't know. I didn't really look hard at the friggin' building. No. Is beautiful building, my god, and completely over the top, and doesn't at all match these types of buildings. Although that's a lovely cabin. What is this? Well, you tell us. It's your survey, and tell you I shall. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're looking at here is the North Soldier Station, which accommodated a mere 20 men, established by the Army to restore order in the park, after civilian administration had failed to curb the abuses in the area that ranged from trapping and shooting of game to stagecoach holdups. In 1884, while the park was still under civilian jurisdiction, by the park I mean Yellowstone, soldiers built this here station in 1887. Until 1908, it was destroyed by fire. Later that year, they built another soldier station, and that's the one you see today. 10 years later, the station turned it over to the Rangers, and basically it served as a 41 years as a Ranger station. And until 1959, there was an earthquake which damaged it and caused it to be abandoned and lost at last. And the latest reports indicate that it will be razed to the ground. They claim that it has sunken into the ground over the years. Look at that, over here. I'd say so. Sunken down, or was there more going on meets the eye? I mean, the whole thing looks kind of like it's been through some stuff. You know what I'm saying? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I mean, a lot of these one thing I feel like we have to consider, at least I encourage us to consider, is the idea that if you imagine a calamitous event, whether it's caused by whoever or whatever, wow, those are beautiful mountains. You gotta assume that, yes, some buildings will be merely appear as if the earth was, like assuming a flood or assuming some event where you have a sediment or mud that settles over time and often floods out a story or two or three, even. You gotta assume also that some buildings, however, will be not just flooded out, but virtually destroyed, leaving just a foundation. So to me, even when you see a very rustic cabin, or old piers, or old concrete piers, and there's a story about a building being burning down, the cabin doesn't necessarily look particularly high-tech, or what you would call old world or advanced. It's just a log cabin on a sort of a stone foundation. If the foundation is wonky or there's a basement, I still think that is quite possibly what you're looking at is a reconfigured structure or repurposed. Whenever there's a story like a fire and then something rebuilt, that's suspicious, obviously, and so that's why I believe that also can be the case with a rustic building. Not all, of course, not all, but some. Here's some color photos of some of that ugly stuff we saw earlier. And if you can call these color, okay, yeah, they are color. For a second, I was like, sepia tone. And wow, look at that. Look at that beautiful. And then come on. The juxtaposition here between this to this, lean-tos, sagging wooden timbers, abandoned dirt road, to this completely balanced, absolutely perfectly symmetrical, artistic, flared, ornamented, massive, full of grandeur, located on a square grid, perfectly accented. The difference is just absolutely mind-blowing, and I don't believe that anyone with a sound mind can actually tell you that the story makes sense. They're built around the same time by the same people. We got a obelisk over here. Beautiful, beautiful home. Laramie Plains Museum. Godly Bob Howdy. Look at the difference between that bottom floor and the top floor. That's all I'm gonna say there. That's all I'm gonna say. And these look so much better in color. Shocking. I know. Very shocking. Oh, these are those coal kilns, allegedly, that were never used. But I remember they sang us a song last time. I won't make them do that this time. though I am tempted. That door makes perfect sense. Wow. And just look at that theater. Just look at it. Those ads are annoying. Just as annoying. See, those are the equivalent of today's pop-up ads. I mean, they're just the same amount of annoying. I do like that little Chinese font, though, in like Yijian Laundry. Wow. And again, the difference in the structures is just striking. Oh, there's that dam. I see. These are color photos of all the ones we've looked at in the past. That's thoughtful of them to go back and do that. Oh, there's that monument that makes zero of sense. All right, that means we're probably at the end of this little leg of the journey. Usually they kind of do this thing. Yeah, see, they look better in color. You know, they look so bad. You know, some of these look like the same exact photo. Like they could have always been in color. They just chose to be cheap. Put them in black and white. Oh yeah, because the pictures are probably the 70s, so probably the majority of these are probably color photos. And what happened here? Interesting place. Not too shabby. Wyoming, and then you get back to Kansas here, like Dorothy, Kansas, you know? This is look at that building. That's incredible. The height of some of those trees on those beams is just amazing. Oh, there's our friendly old bridge. Hey, buddy. It's like all our old friends are here. Well, that's the end of the first leg of that little Wyoming jaunt, and I suppose we could stop it there. We'll make it a little shorter this time. I'll see you soon.